First, I just wanted to share this honest clip of comedian slash political commentator Jon Stewart grilling former Treasury Secretary Larry Summer over why corporate profits takes precedence over people's wage increases. You gotta watch this.
Since the stimulus began, Apple's value has gone up by about $1.2 trillion.
Right.
That's $4,000 for every American. Just an increase in the value of Apple.
You just made my point for me.
Do you feel that Apple is somehow gouging or doing something wrong?
Yes, of course. And Exxon is, and Mobil is.
So let's talk about Apple. Let's talk about Apple. Do you think Apple should just sell phones for less and not have enough phones? What would you have Apple do?
You're saying to me, John, market forces are market forces. And if demand goes up, are you suggesting, young man, that Apple should charge less than they could charge? Let me flip that on you. When there's a tightness in the labor market, what you're saying is the workers shouldn't do the same. That the workers, just following the same capitalistic principles that allow Apple to charge more for their phones, shouldn't charge more because wage inflation is driving inflation.
That's not at all what I'm saying, John.
That's exactly what you're saying.
Spitting some facts right here, guys. It'll never make sense to me how corporations and companies can brag to their investors about record high profits, sometimes up to 70, 100%. Then when people ask for fair wages, suddenly it's a problem for the economy and inflation. Can I get an amen, guys? And guess what they're prioritizing right now? The federal CBDC, or central bank digital currency, aka the digital dollar. Now, the Fed just announced their new payment platform, the FedNow, which could very well pave the way for the CBDC to come in, along with other stable coins for Americans. Should we be worried about this? Well, absolutely. So just imagine that your CBDC wallet is like a fishbowl, and every single transaction that you make is a fish swimming in that bowl. The government is like the owner of the fishbowl who can see every fish swimming around and can decide to remove some of them if they don't like what they see. Now, what happens when the Fed decides to start using this information access to monitor your behavior, control your spending, or even deny your access to your own fish? And what if the fishbowl gets cracked or even breached? All of your fish could be in danger or swimming away, leaving you with nothing. Just like you would want to ensure the safety and privacy of your fish in a physical fishbowl, you should also be aware of the potential risks and safeguards when it comes to a CBDC wallet. Right now, they seem to be hell-bent on fast-tracking the CBDC, regardless of what it could mean for regular Americans, especially those on fixed income like Social Security and SNAP benefits. And what about the people who don't even have bank accounts? How are they supposed to participate in this supposed cashless economy? One example I've been hearing how this is going to clash head-on with the fact that in 37 states, now there is a cash-only cannabis industry. For the CBDC to be adopted, they will have no choice but to provide some kind of banking for the cannabis industry. We definitely have to talk about how you can keep yourself and your family safe and insulated from the CBDC fallout, including how to diversify your income streams even on a low income. Definitely say right there, guys, this is going to be a big one for sure. Now, one of the ways to protect yourself is to consider diversifying not only income streams, but asset classes. So be sure to check out the link in the description down below for the best way to invest in gold. All right, guys, so let's start things with the FedNow, right? So what exactly is it, and what does it mean for central bank digital currency, or CBDC? Well, it may not be the best news, I'll tell you that. It's the Federal Reserve's instant payments network, and it's set to launch in just a few months, which is raising all sorts of questions over any efforts to create a digital dollar. That's right, guys, just a few months from now. So FedNow has been in the works since 2019 and will be released in July. So basically, it'll allow businesses and individual customers of participating banks to send and receive payments 24/7, so no more weekends for processing your payments. But FedNow's ability to facilitate real-time transactions and give customers immediate access to funds has the potential to overshadow the benefits of a blockchain-based U.S. central bank digital currency. Speaking before the House Financial Services Committee just recently, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said the central bank was not close to releasing releasing a US CBDC. But when he talked about FedNow, he hinted at the time, we'll have real-time payments in this country very, very soon, end quote. But this opens up a whole can of worms when it comes to the CBDC and our financial system's over-reliance on tech. Just one example, what happens when the electricity goes out for days or weeks or maybe longer? Perhaps a random EMP strike. Won't the digital currency be run by electronics powered by electricity? It's kind of like it's just begging China and Russia to attack our very exposed energy infrastructure. Not to mention, there are all sorts of privacy concerns to address with the creation of a government-controlled CBDC. And that's exactly what U.S. House Representative Tom Emmer wants to address with the bill proposal they came up with, something that would halt efforts of unelected bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. from issuing a CBDC that strips Americans of their right to financial privacy. The bill also holds the Federal Reserve CBDC research and development programs accountable to the American people. Now, as I said here, quote, the Fed must focus on its dual mandate rather than eradicating financial autonomy. A retail CBDC would essentially allow the government to mediate all transactions, which would mirror what we see in China. It's vital to ensure this does not happen here, end quote. Well, it sure sounds fine on paper what they're saying here, but when I took a closer look at their proposal, what they're proposing instead is to bring private institutions, aka their corporate overlords, into the decision room. So instead of just the government controlling your money, billionaire entrepreneurs and investors like, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, the whole gang, they're going to take control of your money fishbowl. So yeah, that definitely does not sound much better in my opinion. But what do you guys think? So yeah, let's talk about what this CBDC is exactly, right? So yeah, it's a digital form of currency that's going to flow straight from and through the Federal Reserve, meaning every transaction you could ever think of, like paying to get your lawn mowed, giving a tip to the delivery guys, giving your grandkids or even your kids a birthday gift in the form of cash, all of this is going to be seen and probably recorded on this massive ledger that the Fed is going to be overseeing. So yeah, sure, they brag about the potential benefits of a CBDC, such as faster and more efficient payments, but really, they seem to be downplaying the dangers that an average American should be aware of. Now, one danger is the potential for increased government surveillance and control over individual finances. With a CBDC, the government would have more visibility into every transaction that you make, potentially stepping on your privacy and your personal and financial freedoms. It's kind of like having a camera in your wallet that records every purchase you make and sends that information immediately to the government. Then there's the possibility of cyber attacks or system failures, very real considering the type of cyber attacks that we've been seeing from China and from Russia. Now, if the CBDC system is hacked or experiences some kind of a technical glitch, for example, you could easily lose access to your funds, kind of like what many people experienced during the recent bank runs. You could miss your loan payments, generally just face financial chaos that the United States has never even seen before. And what about the vulnerable and marginalized groups of Americans who have limited access to financial resources and digital technologies? So for example, individuals who don't really have access to smartphones or the internet, they're probably going to struggle to participate in a CBDC-based system, which could easily lead to even more financial exclusion for these people, especially those coming from low-income households and our senior citizens living on fixed income. There are a lot of people who rely on cash for their day-to-day transactions, such as unbanked and underbanked individuals. So what happens to them when the CBDC system ends up phasing out physical cash? And this isn't something hypothetical. China has already launched their digital yuan, also known as the digital currency electronic payment. Now, they're dealing with some severely increased surveillance into their day-to-day transactions. The digital yuan is designed to be a fully traceable digital currency, which means that every single transaction made using it is being recorded by the Chinese government. And we've already heard about how China used their C-19 pass system to keep protesters locked up in their homes by changing people's status to positive. Now imagine if they were to just zero out your bank account at the click of a button. Now I shudder to think what the government could do to us and our families if it were that easy to seize our cash flow and our income streams. Now, another real problem with the CBDC is the lack of mainstream media coverage. Now, most news sites and stations, they don't really cover the risks that CBDC poses to the American people. I mean, yeah, it kind of makes you wish millions of Americans would gather together and protest this somehow, but CBDC is the last thing that we really want to happen when we have inflation and high interest rates breathing down our necks. I mean, don't we feel helpless enough already? Let's help one another out. Let's talk about ways you and your family can stay safe from the CBDC takeover and the probable financial collapse that could possibly follow. Now, of course, one way that many people are heading down the path of is diversifying their current cash and purchasing some gold here and there. Now, of course, I wouldn't just dump all my cash in the gold, but a little diversification here and there probably would not necessarily be a bad idea. Of course, this is not financial advice. And for the best way to invest in gold, there's a link in the description down below this video. Now, first, it is important to stay updated, stay informed about the development and the implementation of CBDCs in the United States, and learn about the potential risk and the benefits of these digital currencies. Subscribing to our channel is also probably a very good first step to ensure your financial freedom. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my updates. Next thing you should do is make sure your digital identity is not compromised. So make sure to use strong passwords, two-factor authentication wherever possible, and any other security measures that are available to protect your digital identity and any CBDC wallets or accounts that you might have. And only use trusted platforms. If ever a CBDC does come into play, scammers and fraudsters, they're going to come out guns blazing. So make sure you only use CBDC platforms that are reputable and have strong security measures in place in order to protect your personal and financial information. Always monitor your accounts, guys. Regularly check your bank accounts and transaction histories for any kind of suspicious activity or unauthorized transactions. And lastly, speak up. Advocate for the protection of our privacy and civil liberties. Like, we're in America, right? We should voice our concerns about the potential impact of CBDCs and individual privacy and push for robust privacy protections and regulations to be put in place. Now, I suggest sharing this information with your friends and your loved ones so that you can spread the word about the dangers of CBDC and how we can all stay safe. Now, as for cash flow, we can ensure that we have income streams going by diversifying our assets to include physical assets such as gold, like we talked about earlier, or other precious metals, which can act as a hedge against the potential risks of a fully digital financial system, as well as a hedge against inflation and other benefits. Now, this might seem downright impossible, especially if you're on a fixed income, but there are definitely ways to diversify even with limited resources. Now, some alternative investments don't really require large amounts of capital. I mean, you can check out peer-to-peer lending platforms where they can earn interest on loans that they provide to other borrowers. There's real estate crowdfunding. That's also an option. They let you invest in real estate projects with as little as $500. Now, as for physical assets like gold and other precious metals, you can look into exchange traded funds. You're basically buying into a big pool of money that fund managers use to buy gold. And it's kind of like you're buying gold with the money that you have. And what's good about gold is that it's an inflationary hedge. And usually not all the time, but when inflation goes up together with those interest rate hikes, gold generally goes even higher, and so will your gold ETF. Now, of course, it is important to note that diversification alone does not guarantee investment success or protection against loss. Now, as with any investment, you should always do your research, do your due diligence first for your own financial situation, and make sure that you can stomach the risks. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, not a CPA, I'm not a lawyer, not any of those things. You should always get professional advice before making any kind of financial decisions, and sometimes it's even free with the right organizations. Now, if you guys want to learn more about how to get access to free investment advice, I've got several different contacts that I could share with you guys. Let me know if you guys want me to share that information in a future video. Just let me know. But lots more financial know-how to share in my coming videos, guys. Hope you guys caught all of the information in today's CBDC update and daily news report. The Fed starting their digital dollar launch with the Fed Now this July, how a CBDC could impact you and your finances, plus how to protect yourself and your family and even hedge against inflation. Definitely a lot of financial goodness as always, guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and a big thanks for always hitting the like button. I will see you guys on the next one. Till then, take care.